Hidden within the jagged snow-crowned peaks of the Himalayan mountains, whispers persist of a mysterious and elusive bipedal entity commonly known as the Yeti. But do these rumors hold any truth? Is there a genuine possibility of this captivating creature's existence? Join me on an expedition as we analyze the evidence and embark on a quest to uncover the mystery of the legendary Yeti. Well, I hope you have your passport ready because we're about to take off on an extraordinary journey to the Himalayas.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Just wanted to thank you for flying with us, and I hope you enjoy your 22-hour flight stuffed in a metal tube.
So, it looks like we're gonna be trapped on this plane for quite a while. How about we use this time to go over what we know about the Yeti? The Yeti is an ape-like creature believed to inhabit the expansive Himalayan mountain range in Asia. It's believed that the Yeti traverses the rugged terrain of the Himalayas, ranging from the tree line to the enduring snow at altitudes reaching up to 20,000 feet. It has captured the imagination of both Eastern folklore and Western pop culture, where it is often recognized as the infamous Abominable Snowman. Often described as a large bipedal creature resembling an ape, the Yeti is said to possess a coat of brown, gray, red, or white fur, with occasional portrayals emphasizing its formidable razor-sharp teeth. In many stories, it is nocturnal and emits a piercing high-pitched screech or whistle that resonates through the darkness. The origins of the term Yeti can be traced back to the Sherpa language, which is predominantly spoken in the Himalayan regions of Nepal and Tibet. Although the exact etymology of the word Yeti remains uncertain, it's speculated to have emerged from the Sherpa term Yeti, which means rocky bear. Therefore, it's plausible that the term Yeti was initially employed to portray a specific species of bear that lived in the mountains. According to the BBC, the name Abominable Snowman was coined by a journalist named Henry Newman in 1921. When Newman interviewed a team of British explorers fresh from a Mount Everest expedition, he learned of their intriguing encounter with enormous footprints on the mountain. Their guides attributed these footprints to the Meto Kongmi, which roughly translates to man, bear, snowman. Newman mistranslated this to filthy snowman, and then changed filthy to abominable to try and evoke a sense of fear, mystery, and intrigue. The history of the Yeti can be traced back to ancient legends and folklore of the Himalaya people. Tibetan Buddhist stories portray Yetis as both kind and malevolent characters, but typically the Yeti represents a figure of danger. The underlying message of these ancient tales often functioned as a cautionary reminder to avoid dangerous wildlife and to stay close within one's community for safety. But as I just mentioned, the Yeti wasn't always depicted as a dangerous entity. According to one legend, during the 17th century, a revered Buddhist spiritual leader undertook a journey from India to Nepal. With the intent of seeking solace as a religious hermit, he chose to make his home in the seclusion of a remote cave in the Himalayan mountains. While living there, he claimed friendly Yetis would provide him with food and water, enabling him to lead a tranquil life of devoted meditation. When one of the Yetis died, he preserved its scalp as a revered relic, housing it within the temple he constructed in 1667.
Good morning, everyone. The local time is 6:34, and the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Please make sure your seatbelt is fastened, as we will be landing in Kathmandu shortly.
Well, it looks like our flight is finally almost over. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to begin our search for the Yeti. All right, we're all packed up and ready to go. Okay, so I've got a few different locations in mind of where we can search for the Yeti. While we're driving, let's review the evidence that we currently have. The search for the Yeti can be traced back to the era of Alexander the Great and his campaign to conquer the Indus Valley in 326 BC. Fascinated by tales of the Yeti, he demanded to see one for himself. However, the local people told him they could not fulfill his request since the Yeti could not survive in the region's relatively low altitude. In 1832, Brian Hodgson wrote a report on the mammals of Nepal. In the report, he recounted a story told to him by his local guides about a time they saw a wild man. The guides claimed that the creature walked upright, was covered in long dark hair, and did not have a tail. Hodgson rejected these claims, instead proposing that it could have been an orangutan. The problem with his theory is orangutans only live on the islands of Borneo and Sumatra, which are over 1,500 miles away. In 1899, Major Lawrence Waddell published his book Among the Himalayas, which chronicled his travels through the high mountain ranges 10 years prior. While traversing a mountain pass leading to glaciers, Waddell and his team came across large footprints in the snow that crossed their path and led up the mountain. The local people who were accompanying them told Waddell that the footprints belonged to hairy wild men who they believed lived in the mountains. Waddell disagreed, believing that the footprints were instead from a bear. In 1925, photographer N.A. Tambazi claimed to have seen a creature at an altitude of 15,000 feet. The creature was walking upright about 200 to 300 meters away from him. It appeared dark against the snow and stopped occasionally to pull at bushes covered in flowers. The shape seemed distinctly human, but was wearing no discernible clothing. After a few moments, the creature disappeared into the bushes. Tambazi and his companions descended to where they had seen the creature. There they found its footprints. He described the footprints as 6 to 7 inches long by 4 inches wide. The prints had 5 distinct toes and seemed undoubtedly to be those of a biped. The footprints continued further into the bushes, but they were unable to follow them due to inclement weather. Despite Tambazi being a photographer, he took no known photos of the creature or the footprints. On November 8, 1951, while attempting to climb Mount Everest, Eric Shipton took photographs of what many believe to be Yeti footprints. The footprints were discovered at around an altitude of 20,000 feet. They were a little over 12 inches long and wider than the men's boots. Many people believe these photographs to be some of the best evidence we have of the Yeti, while others claim that they're nothing more than a hoax or were created by a known animal such as a bear. While Shipton refrained from stating what he believed created the tracks, he contested critics who argued that the prints were left by a bear or langur monkey. The 1950s saw a peak in Western interest in the Yeti. This prompted the government of Nepal to issue regulations for Yeti hunting parties, which led the American Embassy in Kathmandu to issue this memo. The memo states 3 rules that must be followed for Yeti hunting. Number 1. You must pay a fee to the government of Nepal for a permit to search for the Yeti. Number 2. You can photograph or capture a Yeti, but it must be kept alive. You cannot shoot or kill a Yeti except in self-defense. If you capture a Yeti or take any photos of one, they must be turned over to the government of Nepal as soon as possible. And number 3. Any reports on the Yeti must first be submitted to the government of Nepal and must not in any way be given out to the press or reporters without permission. In 1960, Sir Edmund Hillary led an expedition to the Himalayas. While there, they were given permission to study and test a supposed Yeti scalp and hand bones. The scalp was located in the village of Kumjing. In a 1960 article, Sir Edmund stated that the scalp was in the house of a frightening old woman, believed to be a witch, in Kumjing. It has been in the possession of the village for 240 years. The scalp was examined in London, Paris, and Chicago, and was discovered to be made of serow hide. For those who don't know, a serow is a type of goat. As for the hand, in 1959, a man by the name of Peter Byrne stole one of the fingers and replaced it with a human finger. When the hand was examined the next year by Sir Edmund and his team, it was found to be made of modern human bones. Eventually, the finger that Peter Byrne stole was DNA tested and found to be of human origin. The scalp can still be found in the Kumjing Monastery, while the hand was unfortunately stolen in the 90s and has been missing ever since. After this, sightings of the Yeti and evidence of its existence became less frequent. In 1977, China sent 100 investigators to Tibet to look for evidence of the Yeti, but they came up empty-handed. In 1988, a Western expedition to Tibet also found nothing. Around this time, many people began to believe that the famous 1951 shipped-in photographs of the Yeti footprints were fake. A member of the 1951 expedition even told a journalist that it was very likely that the photograph was a hoax. Despite the lack of recent evidence, there is still a lot of interest in the Yeti. In 2019, the Indian Army claimed to have found Yeti footprints in the Himalayas and posted these 3 photographs on Twitter. Alright guys, we are here! Let's see if we can find ourselves a Yeti. Oh look, it's a Yeti. That was easy. I think he's coming over to say hi.
Shit!
So now that we've examined all of the evidence, let's examine some of the possible explanations for the sightings and footprints. Most Yeti sightings are thought to be the misidentification of different bears that live in the mountains. Other sightings and evidence can be explained as hoaxes. Nearly every time a mysterious hair sample is found and claimed to be from the Yeti, it is determined that the hair is from known local wildlife, usually a bear. The Tibetan blue bear and the Himalayan brown bear are the most likely candidates for creating the Yeti legend. These bears can grow to 7 feet long, have been found as high as 18,000 feet in the mountains, and are known to sometimes stand and walk on 2 legs. These factors make them a plausible explanation for the majority of Yeti sightings. Even when comparing photos of alleged Yeti footprints to bear footprints, it is clear that they are very similar. So after everything we've discussed, what do I think? Do I believe that the Yeti is out there? As with most other cryptids, we have no way to prove that the Yeti doesn't exist. So I don't want to say that its existence is impossible. However, I also don't believe that any of the currently available evidence is concrete proof of its existence. I find it difficult to believe that if the Yeti did exist, we would not have found any concrete evidence of it by now, especially for a creature that is said to be quite large. I find it strange that we have never even found remains or droppings of this creature. If this is truly a wild animal, then I feel like we should have found something by now to prove its existence. The only logical explanations I could come up with for our lack of evidence is that the Yeti is either extremely intelligent and is very good at hiding from us, or it is some kind of creature or entity that is able to defy the laws of our universe as we currently understand them. With all that said, I believe it is highly unlikely that the Yeti is out there. But hey, that's just my opinion. And now I want to know yours. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. Do you believe that the Yeti is out there? Well, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button and subscribe button and stay tuned for the next video.